Venusaur is still the strongest grass type we have ever run throughout the Johto games, and now it's time to see how well it does in Hoenn. And so we're back for yet another challenge here in Pokemon Emerald. Blastoise got us off to a fairly strong start in the last video, and now it's time for another one of those Generation 1 starter Pokemon. And if you are enjoying the Pokemon Emerald and Pokemon Fire Red challenges, I have incredibly good news for you. Starting in January, Generation 3 content is going to be weekly. We'll alternate each week between Fire Red and Pokemon Emerald, and I really am looking forward to it. And if you are as well, please make sure you are subscribed to the channel so you don't miss any of the Generation 3 challenges or any of our regular Generation 2 challenges as well. And I will say that Pokemon Emerald voiceovers especially still make me fairly nervous. I'm still finding my feet in the Hoenn game, so it's going to take us a while to get into that rhythm, but I am more than raring to go for this particular challenge. And before we get into the main meat of this challenge, I used PK Hex to set our IVs for Hidden Power Ice, and I also used the Universal Pokemon Randomizer to change the starter Trico into a Bulbasaur. Now let's see how our very first wild encounter goes. It's against a level 2 Zigzagoon. It growls at us, and that means it ends up being a 4-shot. That's not terrible though, and we can make our way to our first rival battle. And it stands to reason that if we are running a Grass-type Pokemon, May has to have the Torchic line. So we're going to start off with a Leech Seed against the Torchic to get some passive health regeneration, and then we'll just keep tackling it. We knock it out in just a few hits, taking only 3 HP worth of damage, and we can make our way towards the Petalburg Woods, where we get ambushed by Team Aqua. That is one of the 2 villainous teams we'll be seeing throughout the course of this challenge, and we have Vine Whip on the learn set now, so it's going to be a simple one-shot against the Poochyena, and we can continue making our way north towards Rustboro City. In Rustboro City we find our first gym. Before taking on Roxanne though, we're going to take on this hiker. He's got a pair of Geodude, and that's great for us because we can use our 4-time super effective Vine Whip. We grow to level 16 and we get our first of 2 evolutions. So it's goodbye to Bulbasaur and hello to Ivysaur in its place. That gives us a nice big buff to our base stats, and just in time as well, because now it's time to take on Roxanne. She's our first gym leader together. She's a rock type specialist who leads with Geodude. It's a simple Vine Whip apiece for the Geodude, and we can turn our attention to Nosepass. Nosepass has a really weird sprite in Generation 3, I'm not sure I like it that much. But either way, we're going to start with a Leech Seed and then we'll get to Vine Whipping. And even with all of Roxanne's heals, there's nothing she can do to knock us out, and we defeat her to obtain the Stone Badge in a time of 10 minutes and 28 seconds. Let's now head east into the Rust Turf Tunnel where yet more shenanigans are afoot. We see a kidnapped bird, and being the heroes that we are, we just have to save the day. We'll tackle the Poochyena because we're out of Vine Whip PP, and it's 2 shots to knock it out, and we can reunite an old man with his Wingull. Just as well too, because that old man turns out to be a sailor, and he can take us over to our second gym together. This is Brawly's fighting type gym, and he's going to lead with Machop. We've upgraded Vine Whip to Razor Leaf for this battle, and Razor Leaf has the added bonus of having an increased critical hit chance. Machop goes down in 2 shots, and then we send the Meditite to sleep. We Razor Leaf on turn 1 as it uses Reflect, but that's great for us because Razor Leaf is a special move in this generation. We're going to use a few more Razor Leafs against the Makuhita as it heals up with a Super Potion, but it's all over for Brawly at this point, so we knock it out with 2 further Razor Leafs, and that means we have our second badge, the Knuckle Badge, in 19 minutes and 30 seconds. And now that we've got a little bit of plotline going on in the background, I want all of your lovely people's opinions. I've still not set in stone the way I want to edit the Emerald videos, and I want all of your lovely people's input. Do you want to see some of these earlier Team Aqua and Magma battles, or do you want me to keep it just to the executives? For the first few challenges, I'm going to show more plotline than is absolutely necessary so that we can all get a bit of a feel for the Hoenn region together, but I am more than happy to condense this early part of the game because the Pokemon Emerald videos are some of the longest videos we have together here on the channel. So please do let me know as we take on May for the second time. This time she's going to lead with a Wingull, and Wingull is neutral to Razor Leaf, so it gets knocked out in 1. We're going to make the Combusken take a nap because that really is the best way to get through it, and much like what we did with Meganium in Fire Red, we're going to be playing to this Pokemon's strengths. It's very much a stalling type Pokemon. We're going to regain health with Leech Seed, and we're also then going to be sending Pokemon to sleep an awful lot as well. Razor Leaf is neutral against Lombre, and we knock it out in 2 hits, and we defeat May in 27 minutes and 31 seconds. Now, just before we take on Watson, we encountered a Pokemon breeder. They are the bane of my existence in Generation 3 because they all have 6 Pokemon to their name. However, against Pokemon breeder Isaac, we were able to grow to level 32. And at level 32, Ivysaur will evolve into Venusaur. So now that we've knocked out that final Makuhita, we can say goodbye to Ivysaur and we'll say hello to Venusaur. And this is a Pokemon we're running for the rest of this challenge. And it's just in time as well because we have Watson to deal with. We've learnt our lesson from the Blastoise challenge and we're going in fully evolved. It's a one-shot against his Voltorb, but one-shot against the Electrike as well. And we went in holding the Cherry Berry just to give us a little bit of a paralysis buffer against this Magneton. One big thing I will say in Pokemon Emerald's favour is we have a lot of berries to work with, and berries really are an important part of the meta when we're playing with a solo challenge, because berries really can make all the difference. And now we're in a little bit of a war of attrition against this Manectric. We're going to try and send it to sleep. Shockwave's going to do next to nothing. We'll Leech Seed it to regain some of our HP passively, and then we'll get to Razor Leafing. In the end, all that setup wasn't necessary because a critical hit Razor Leaf knocks out the Manectric in 1 hit, and we earn the Dino badge in 37 minutes 44 seconds, and our reward is a trip on a cable car. And now at the tippy top of Mount Chimney, we encounter our second villainous team. This is Team Magma, and they want to expand the land. I do really like the idea of having 2 villainous teams in tandem in a Pokemon game, but could they really not think of anything better than expanding land and expanding water? Anyway, we easily dispose of our first Magma admin, and we can say hello to Maxie. Maxie is the leader of Team Magma, and this is the first of a few battles we'll have against them. They lead with a Mighty Aina, and I am incredibly glad we're going for a special attacking Venusaur here. And we're only going to be improving our special attacking ways as well, because when we knock out this Camerupt, we grow to level 41, and at level 41 we learn Growth. So it's goodbye to Leech Seed, it served us well, but I don't think we need it anymore. And slowly our Venusaur is coming together. We are going to be a special attacking sweeper by the end of this challenge, and Growth is an integral part of that strategy, because that means we can boost our special attack on command. Now let's take on our 4th gym leader together. This is Flannery, the Fire-type specialist who leads with Numel. We knock out Numel with a single Razor Leaf, and then we get to setting up against the Slugma. Slugma really is much more prominent in Generation 3, and I'm incredibly glad for that, but it's still not a great Pokemon in Gen 3 either. We're going to get our special attack all the way up to 424, and then we're going to sweep. We'll use Secret Power against the Slugma because it is very weak in all departments, and then it's going to be 2 more Razor Leafs to finish off this battle. So it's 1 for the Camerupt, 2 for the Torkoal, and we say thank you Flannery for your badge in a time of 53 minutes and 30 seconds. And while we're on a roll, we're going to go to our father. He is our 5th gym leader together, Norman, the normal type specialist who leads with Spinder. And yet again, we're going to do the same strategy. We'll send a Pokemon to sleep, we'll boost our special attack very high, and then we'll sweep. Spinder goes down in 1 hit. We hit ourselves in confusion, however, against the Vigoroth. We knock it out on turn number 2, though, and that brings us on to Linoone. We break through the confusion once more to hit the Linoone. We snap out of confusion. We take Slacking deep into the red. It's going to be loafing around. We finish it off on our 2nd turn. And with that, we've defeated our father Norman to obtain the Balance Badge in 57 minutes and 18 seconds. Let's now make our way towards Fortree City, where just west of it we find the Weather Institute. At the Weather Institute we have yet more Aqua admin shenanigans. This is Smelly Shelly with her Mighty Aina and Carvana. We knock them both out in a single hit, and we save the day, and the weather forecasters can get back to work in the Hoenn region. I wish they could forecast some better weather than this, though. We're going to have to take on May in the rain. May leads with Pelipper the Toilet's Bird, and we end up getting supersonics by it. We start setting up regardless because growth doesn't affect our physical attack, and then once we snap out of confusion, we just have to make sure we can hit this benighted thing. It keeps protecting, but eventually we do get the Razor Leaf connecting against the Pelipper. We knock it out and we're on to Combusken. Combusken really is at a disadvantage in this battle because of the rain, not that it got a chance to use a fire-type move regardless. Her next Pokemon is Lombre. We're going to get flinched on turn 1 courtesy of Fake Out, but we knock it out on turn number 2, and we defeat May in a time of 1 hour, 2 minutes and 47 seconds, and we can move on to our 6th gym together. This is Winona's Flying-type gym, and she leads with Swablu. We have Hidden Power Ice on the learn sets for this battle. We got that in a treehouse here in Fortree City, and the placement of this particular Hidden Power TM was incredibly fortuitous because it meant we had something super effective against most of Winona's Pokemon. And that does mean we can just start sweeping. We don't really need to do much setup at all in this particular battle because even Skarmory can't survive a Hidden Power Ice, and we defeat Winona to get the Feather Badge in a time of 1 hour, 8 minutes and 32 seconds. Let's now move on to Lilycove City where we encounter May for one final time. May's going to lead with Tropius, and as we saw against Winona, that's a simple one-shot with Hidden Power Ice. We are going to Growth because it uses Sweet Sense on turn number 1, and that means we should have a much better time against the Toilet Bird this time. Raise Leaf one-shot, so she sends out Combusken. We use Secret Power as it bulks up, but it's altogether too late for the Combusken, and her final Pokemon is the Pineapple Head Water Duck. We knock out the Ludicolo in one shot to defeat May for the last time in a time of 1 hour, 13 minutes and 50 seconds. Let's move on to the Magma hideouts in the Jagged Pass where we have yet more plotline to come, and in this little section I just want to talk about how good the Grass type is in the Generation 3 games. Of course, in Generation 2 the Grass type is notoriously a bad type. We have a type disadvantage against a lot of the early game trainers, and it doesn't really improve when we get to the latter half of the challenge either. But the Meganium challenge in Fire Red and this Venusaur challenge here in Emerald really have changed my opinion on the Grass type. I used to think it was a fairly weak type overall, but I think a lot of that is to do with the generation that I've been playing in. Because in Generation 3 I think the Grass type has the potential to be as strong as the normal type is in Generation 2. So please do let me know down in the comments below, what are some of the Grass types you would like to see run both here in Pokemon Emerald and of course in Kanto and Pokemon Fire Red as well. Because once we're done with the starter mini-series in both Generation 3 games, we're going to have to start getting onto the main meat of the Pokédex, and if any Pokemon keep coming up in the comments I will definitely prioritise those. In the meantime though, we'll turn our attention back to the challenge at hand, where we're going to take on our 7th and penultimate gym leaders. This is a double battle Psychic type gym of Mossdeep City, and they lead with Claydol and Xatu. And of course, to engage this pair of gym leaders in battle, we do need a second Pokemon, so we have brought in our sacrificial Magikarp. And I really need to slow down my clicks in double battles here in Generation 3, because I misclick here and that bit us in the bum, and it meant we weren't able to get through on our first attempt against Tate and Liza. And that means we have taken our first reset of the challenge. So out comes Venusaur and the sacrificial Magikarp once more. The Magikarp goes down and we can start trying to set up. We're going to use Hidden Power against the Xatu to get rid of it, and that means we're on to Claydol and Lunatone. We use Raise Leaf against the Claydol and it gets a critical hit to knock it out in one, and we take Lunatone down to well under half health. One of the big benefits here of having Raise Leaf is that it's going to hit both Pokemon at once. However, in a double battle, Raise Leaf's power is slightly nerfed. We get taken deep into the red by the Soul Rock, but they get themselves caught in a healing loop. We can use Razor Leaf once more to knock out the Soul Rock. We've only got the Lunatone left to go. We finish it off with another Razor Leaf, and we are through Tate and Liza in a time of 1 hour, 31 minutes and 19 seconds. Goodness me, double battles hurt my brain to commentate. I hope that one made sense. Now let's make our way into the Space Institutes where we're going to have a tag team battle alongside Steven. We're going to just bring in our Venusaur here to make sure we are still doing the solo Pokemon challenge, and the Magmas are going to lead with a Mightyena and a Camerupt. And I think the best play here is to just start setting up. We want to make our special attack as high as possible so that we can then start sweeping. We're going to take bits of damage here and there, but it's not going to be anything too disastrous. And in hindsight, I really should have brought a berry in for this battle, but I didn't realise we were going to get swaggered until it was too late, and we start hitting ourselves in a little bit of confusion. Both Camerupts start setting up Amnesia, and that is terrible for us, because it negates all of that hard work we've done to boost our special attack. Fortunately for us though, we critical hit one of the Camerupts, and we take the other one deep into the red. We're going to use Hidden Power against the Golbat to get rid of that as quickly as we possibly can, and then we'll turn our focus back to Camerupts. We get intimidated again, but that's fine. We are a special attacker. The Camerupts goes down, and now we're going to have to use Synthesis. We want to make sure that we are in no danger of being knocked out for the rest of this battle. We're going to swap to Hidden Power Ice once more for the Crobats. We'll take it out in one final hit, and we have taken care of Team Magma once and for all. Now that we've done Team Magma, we might as well get rid of Team Aqua as well. This is Archie, the leader of Team Aqua, and this should be a much smoother battle. For starters, we're not in a double battle. That means it's going to be 1v1, and that means it's going to be much more manageable. We one-shot the Mighty Aina, but we get confused by Crobats, and of course we hit ourselves in confusion. We break through on turn number 2 though and knock it out with a Hidden Power, and then we'll use a Razor Leaf against the Sharpedo. We knock that out in one shot and we take care of Archie once and for all. And we can keep the aquatic theme going as we move on to our 8th and final gym together. This is Juan's water-type gym, and he leads with Love Disc. This pesky Love Disc has Attract, but fortunately for us, we're able to break through the attraction, knock it out in one, and then we'll do the same against the Celio. The third Pokemon is an incredibly trolly Kingdra. It's got double team, and that means we're going to have to just hope for the best. We get the RNG luck we need as Razor Leaf only misses once, and we knock it out in 2 hits, and we can turn our attention to Whiscash. It's 4 times weak to grass, so it gets knocked out in a single hit, and then we'll pick off the Crawdaunt with a Razor Leaf as well. And with that, we've defeated our final gym leader and obtained the Rain Badge in 1 hour 45 minutes and 42 seconds. And that means we can start making our way into Victory Road. And it's on Victory Road we encounter our second rival of this challenge. So let's say a very warm welcome along to Wally, who leads with Altaria. We knock out the Altaria with a Hidden Power Ice, and we are on to Gardevoir. Gardevoir's only going to use Future Sight, so we can use that to our advantage. It also has Double Team, much like that pesky Kingdra from before. And because Gardevoir doesn't seem to be using any direct damage-dealing Psychic-type moves, I take this opportunity to set up our growth, because it makes sense to do the setup against a Pokemon that can barely touch us, and then we get incredibly lucky knocking it out with 2 consecutive Razor Leafs. We take a little bit of damage from Future Sight and we one-shot the Delcatty. His next Pokemon is Magneton. This could be a little bit pesky, but instead of Thunder Waving it uses Screech. That's great for us because we can knock it out with 2 further Razor Leaf, and the final Pokemon is Roselia. We use Hidden Power Ice against the Roselia to knock it out, and now we can continue our trek through Victory Road. And once we're out the other side, we found ourselves in Evergrande City, but we're not going to take on the Pokemon League quite yet. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to Falarbor Town, where we're going to speak to the Move Reminder, because we're going to say goodbye to Synthesis. It's served us well over the past few battles, but I really think for the Pokemon League, Sleep Powder is the play. We need to be able to safely set up, and Sleep Powder is the way to do that. And now that means we can make our preparations for the Pokemon League. We'll buy our full restores, we'll either need them or we won't. We'll say a big thank you to the HM friends, Talo, Marill, Abra, Zigzagoon and Nincada. And then finally we'll heal up our Venusaur whether we need to or not. And with that, it's now time to take on the Pokemon League. And now that we have confirmed we have all 8 gym badges, we can use rare candies from any points going forwards from here. Our first league member is Sydney. He's a dark type specialist and he leads with Mighty Aina. And in the league, we're absolutely going to be playing to Venusaur's strengths. The best way to run a Venusaur is to send a Pokemon to sleep, set up, and then use a special attack. That's why we've not bothered to pick up Sludge Bomb. We have no need for it, especially with Intimidate being all over the place in Generation 2. We have set up enough to sweep the first 4 Pokemon. The final Pokemon is Crawdaunt. We've got a Razor Leaf that's going to be super effective with its name on it. We knock it out and we're through Sydney on our first try in 1 hour 57 minutes and 56 seconds. Our second league member is Phoebe. She is a ghost type specialist who leads with Dusclops, and we're going to use the exact same strategy. We send a Pokemon to sleep, we boost our special attack, and then we try to sweep. In hindsight, I think an extra growth here would have made all the difference, because we weren't quite able to one-shot Dusclops. We did, however, get it caught in a healing loop, and we knocked it out in a further 2 Razor Leafs. It's a one-shot against Banette with Razor Leaf, and then we take a little bit of damage courtesy of an Ice Beam from this second Dusclops. Razor Leaf hits and knocks it out in 2 shots though, and the next Pokemon is yet another Banette. That goes down in a single hit. The final Pokemon is Sableye. We knock that out in a single Razor Leaf as well, and we're through Phoebe on our first try in 1 hour 58 minutes and 49 seconds. Our third league member is Glacia. She is an Ice-type specialist who leads with Celio, and Glacia really has the potential to be the peskiest of all the league members. We're going to get into a little bit of a war with this Celio, because this Celio seems to sleep even less than I do. All it's doing here really is wasting time as we're trying to set up, but eventually it stays asleep long enough for me to be confident that we are able to start sweeping. We knock the first Celio out in 1 shot, and we do the same against Celio number 2. Walrein comes into play and we knock that out in a single hit as well, and that just leaves her final pair of Glalie. It's a 1-shot on the level 50 Glalie, but it's not quite a consistent 1-shot on the level 52. The good news, however, is that means that Glalie is now caught in a healing loop. There's nothing more that Glacia can do to win this battle. We knock it out with a high roll, and we're through Glacia on our first try in 2 hours and 3 seconds. Our final league member is Drake. He's a Dragon-type specialist who leads with Shelgon. And in this battle you really can tell the fatigue has started to kick in. I thought I was spamming growth, but as it turned out I kept spamming sleep powder. That didn't mean much in terms of the actual battle itself, but it did waste a little bit of time. However, I corrected the error and then we knock out the Shelgon with a single hit. Flygon, like most Generation 3 dragons, is 4 times weak to ice, so we knock it out in 1. We do the same against the Altaria, and the next Pokemon is Salamence. It's 3 for 3 with the Hidden Power Ices, and that just leaves Kingdra left to go. Kingdra tries in vain to set up against us, but it's altogether too late for Drake, because with 2 final Razor Leafs we knock out the Kingdra and we defeat Drake in a time of 2 hours and 1 minute on the nose. And with that, there's only one obstacle between us and the Hall of Fame. It's time for Wallace, the Wet Blankets Water-type specialist, who leads with Wailord. Wailord is big, Wailord is bulky, but Wailord needs to take a nap. We set up 3 growths against the Wailord as it's too busy snoozing to attack us, and when it uses Rain Dance, that is our cue to start trying to attack. We knock out the Wailord in 1 shot, and then we get a very lucky critical hit to 1-shot the Milotic. His third Pokemon is Tentacruel, so we keep on Razor Leafing, and we get yet another critical hit. And the increased critical hit chance is exactly why I kept Razor Leaf on from pretty much the beginning of the challenge. Here comes Gyarados, and it gets itself caught in a healing loop as Earthquake deals a little bit of damage to us, but it's looking like it's altogether too late for this Gyarados as another critical hit knocks it out, and that just leaves the Pineapple Head Water Duck left to go. We take it deep into the red and yet another healing loop occurs. And at this point Wallace is just delaying the inevitable. There's absolutely nothing he can do to knock out our Venusaur, but he's going to try and troll us as much as possible. I decide to change strategies and set up a few growths, because Hidden Power Ice has a slightly higher accuracy than Razor Leaf, and once we select it, it connects. First try, we knock out the Ludicolo, and that means we have defeated Wallace and become champions of the Hoenn region in 2 hours, 2 minutes and 41 seconds. And our final Hall of Fame time is 2 hours, 2 minutes and 59 seconds. But that is of course not the end of the challenge. There's still one more battle left to go. It's time for our final battle against Steven. Steven is a Steel-type specialist and he's going to lead with Skarmory. And immediately we get this battle off on the wrong notes by leading with Skarmory, because I'm not a fan of it whatsoever. However, we send it to sleep and we manage to set up 3 growths before it wakes up. We take a lot of damage from a super effective Aerial Ace, but we did hold a Citrus Berry, so we're back up to 128 HP. Skarmory goes down, so he sends out Armaldo. Armaldo's got Aerial Ace as well, and that means we're down to 29 HP already. Claydol's the third Pokemon. It's weak to grass, so we knock it out with a critical hits Razor Leaf, and the fourth Pokemon is Metagross. We've got to send this thing to sleep. A single Psychic will definitely knock us out. We're going to use Razor Leaf. It's the best we've got, and we get a lucky critical hit to knock it out in 2 turns. The next Pokemon is Aggron. We're going to send that to sleep, and I really should have used Growth here and risked it, because we are not quite strong enough to knock out the Cradily, and we get knocked out. And that was our best battle against Steven for a very long time. We didn't use any rare candies in the league, so we're going to use our first set here, and we're going to try the same strategy once again. but honestly it's a little bit hopeless. I don't know what happened with the RNG between those two sets of rare candies, because we just don't get the break we need. Because as we've seen, we definitely need to set up a lot of growths to get through that Metagross. That's going to be the big sticking point. Armaldo's Aerial Ace really does throw another spanner in the works as well, and if Armaldo doesn't stay asleep long enough, we're going to have to take another reset. So we'll use another 4 rare candies. We're now at level 70. Let's see if that makes any difference whatsoever. Once again, we're going to try and send the Skarmory to sleep. Spikes is a little bit fortuitous there, because that is just a free turn for us. We set up the growths and we really hope that Skarmory stays asleep. And in hindsight, again, I should have risked another growth. It would have made no difference to the amount of damage we took, but we are back onto the Armaldo. I start setting up again against the Armaldo. We use Razor Leaf, we take it deep into the red, and he uses a full restore. He's caught in a healing loop now with Armaldo, which is fine for us because we knock it out in 2, and we know that Claydol is completely irrelevant. The big issue in this battle is going to be this Metagross. We've got to get very lucky with critical hits, or we've got to get very lucky with a sleep. But if the Metagross wakes up, it will use Psychic and it will knock us out in 1. We use another set of rare candies and we're now up to level 73. We get up to a false start as Sleep Powder misses, so we'll try once more. You may have noticed the reset counter didn't go up there, it double counted on the last reset, so we're now back in sync. We send the Skarmory to sleep and we start using growth. We're going to set up as many growths as possible against this thing. Spikes is fine, that just gives us an extra free turn. We send the Skarmory to sleep once more and we now have 738 in battle special attack. We knock out the Skarmory in 1 and we take no chances against the Armaldo. We send it to sleep, we Razor Leaf it and we knock it out in a single hit as well. We know Claydol's fine, we knock that out with a Razor Leaf. Here comes Metagross. We're going to have to send it to sleep and we're going to have to hope for the best. A lucky critical hit is what we need to knock it out, and that's exactly what happens. We're back onto the Aggron, we know we can knock that out in 1, so it's all about the Cradily. We use Hidden Power Ice, it's a one-shot against it, we grow to level 74, and that means we have defeated Steven in a time of 2 hours, 10 minutes and 1 second. My target for this challenge was around about 2 hours 30 minutes, so I am incredibly pleased with this time, especially considering I'm still not familiar with Emerald. That does of course put Venusaur at the top of the Emerald leaderboard by a comfortable margin ahead of Blastoise. And with that, we are done for yet another Emerald challenge. I'm still finding my feet in this generation, but if you have enjoyed this video, then please do make sure to leave a like. If you want to see more videos just like this, then click the subscribe button. If you've got anything to say at all about this challenge, leave it in the comments down below. But until next time, when we're running Zangoose's backport in Pokemon Crystal, I'll say thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all very, very soon.